Law number 22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. In this chapter, the core theme is whenever you are stuck with a stronger opponent or a stronger enemy, you buy time by surrendering at the right time. To illustrate this, there is an example from Athens' time in the island of Melis in the Mediterranean region. This small island was about to get conquered from Athens, and they were believing that Spartans would come and help them. But Athens did send a committee before invading them to the Melis island and tried to do negotiation and told them to surrender. But Melis didn't hear them, and then eventually Athens did conquer them. So the conclusion was that it was a right for them, Melis, to just surrender to whatever Athens was saying, because Athens for sure was a stronger power, and they were very small island, Melis themselves. So they were relying on Spartans who didn't really help them, and Sparta never came to their help because it was not in their interest. So the conclusion or the learning is that if they would have surrendered, over time Athens' power did went out after few years. So they could have twisted and gained power in those years and then came back and struck again. And there is a famous another story from Hollywood 19, something called Hollywood 19 story has been shared from 1950s era, 1947 to be precise, where a German writer was very influenced by communism. So he wrote a lot of poetry, a lot of role plays, a lot of plays on the power of communism. And he went from Europe to US. His core thesis was also to get away from Hitler and remove Hitler's style of ruling. Hitler's party he wanted to overthrow. So at some point in 1950s, the Congressional Committee found that there are people in Hollywood who is trying to influence communism by creating this place. So he was called for a committee hearing, and during that time, if he would have gone bonkers and would have revealed or would have gone against them during that hearing, he would have ended up in the jail. And so instead of that, he actually surrendered to the committee, and others in that zone who were called Hollywood 19 did the opposite. They stood their ground, and all those people wasted their immense years, while this German writer used a translator just to during this hearing. So whenever a question on communism would come, he would say that no, I wrote that in German, and then interpreter would translate it into English, causing a lot of differences between what he spoke actually and what it got interpreted. So the conclusion is that it was on his interest to avoid confronting his powerful enemy or powerful powers, and made sure that he surrenders. And that's how he, within 1 hour, he was out of that hearing, and nothing happened to him. He left US just after that. Similar stories from shared from the Chinese dynasties in 1473 BC, where a couple of kings were fighting, and one king conquered the other, and the one who lost wanted to run away, but his advisor told to surrender, and he surrendered, did he. And then for the next 3 years he tried to gain sympathy from his enemy who had won him, and understood everything about him, and then left to his own place after 3 years of loyalty. And when the other king was in bad situation where there was famine, he counter-strike and won that region again. And similar smaller stories from the Japanese, the way they handle in 1857 to be precise, the foreign invaders or foreign people who were trying to influence them. That's how they also created a policy of showing surrendering, but doing their own act in the background. Now the reverse of this is, in fact, this particular law of surrendering is also mentioned in Bible, Matthew 5:38, by Christ himself. And the reversal of this law is that there are situations where you have to, if you are strongly believing that you won't come back, it's easy to not to surrender and fight. But there is this selfish nature of martyrdom where they only think about themselves and not about follower. So please choose martyrdom in law number 22. concentrate your forces. In this chapter, author talks about a format in which one must always focus on one thing intensively rather than thinking or focusing on multiple things extensively. To demonstrate this, a couple of examples are given. One is from Chinese dynasty of Wu, kingdom of Wu, where his advisor, king's advisor, told him not to do a lot of wars at the same time. But then the king laughed on him, assuming that he can conquer everyone. And the advisor just said that, look, your neighbor would be attacking you soon if you don't pay attention. And because he didn't forced the king Wu didn't concentrated his war activities on a single kingdom, ultimately that's what happened. And the words of the advisor became true. So the point is that always focus your core energies on one thing at a time rather than that rather than fighting multiple wars at the same time. Another example is from Rothschild family, which was one of the most richest family in the US in later years. Their history started in Germany though, and because they were Jew, there were a lot of restriction on them. So they decided to do all the businesses within family, even inter-business dependencies. If a one business needed someone else's help, they would only hire from within their family. And ultimately their focus on their power was focused on one thing, which is their family. And their 5 sons, one went to Paris, one went to London, one went to Vienna, etc., different places. And whenever they wanted any business to be done on the lending side, they were helping each other, and they conquered Europe in the industry of lending money and became the strongest family ever. Not only that, they made their kids to marry with each other. First cousins would marry to the first cousins of within their family. And that's how they were describing that it is like a watch. Every part in the clock is as much important as the other part is. So this caused, in early 1900s, even there was World War One and a lot of recession in 1929, but their wealth seemingly just kept going. Rothschilds. Other examples given are of that of Tesla, who never found one master. He always ended up working with more than one master, in fact 10 masters, just as the corollary. So the meaning is that he never accepted one person as a master like others did in that era. For example, JP Morgan wanted to associate with Tesla, but he declined his offer and then regretted those decisions later in his life. Same with Michelangelo actually had only one master, so that really helped him to serve that master. And ultimately that master becomes slave, and then that master serves the slave. And the reversal of this law is, if you are in situation, for example in war, always focusing all your forces on one place could be your weakness and it could be exploited. So in those situations you should avoid focusing your all the energies on one point. Other is, what happens if your soul master dies? So it's always good to be extensive, have multiple masters, and always plan what happens if your master is about to go. Having that is an example from Leonardo da Vinci. He used to have multiple masters. And not only that, he used to create art in different forms. He would inspired by mechanics, for example, machines, through sculptures, through raw nature, through people, and that diversification really